Housing Association International School at Airport. Proceeded to I also have a professional Prince 2 qualification, secondary school in the world. I am currently serving in my fourth secondary school, representing the chiefs and the good people to the University of Ghana. I have served as ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee and Economics for almost 8 years. I have in the 8th Parliament Masters in. I also served as International Politics Assurances and Defense. Another master. I've held various positions in public service, including an executive certificate, Deputy Minister for Information, appointed leadership from Harvard Kennedy School. His Excellency from the University of London, John Evans Atamils, blessed memory. May his soul rest in peace. My dearest mentor, who I miss. I also have a professional Prince 2 qualification. I was also appointed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I am currently serving. I served as Deputy Minister for Education, representing chiefs and the good people tertiary education. I have served as ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee chair for almost 8 years. President Mahama's in the 8th Parliament Anti-Corruption. I also served as chair of the Assurances Committee team. A position I'm very, very I've held various positions in public service dearly, including when I hand over Deputy Minister for Information, appointed Mr. Chairman by kindly Excellency Professor permit me John Evans Atamils to convey may his soul rest sincerest, my dearest mentor, gratitude from the depth of my heart to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I was also appointed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I served as Deputy Minister for Education. I have already assured him in charge of that tertiary education, and I will make him currently proud. Thank you very much. I'm concluding, President Chairman. If you give me 30 seconds, flagship anti-corruption. I must also thank my dear mother, the Operation Her Excellency Professor Nana Jenopokwajima, the first female Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. I will miss dearly. And in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, next few days, I want to thank Mr. Chairman, kindly senior and veteran to convey diplomats and former
playing for your country, easy. Scoring, easy. Avoiding injuries, easy. Winning, easy, Charlie. But you know,
for disappointing Professor Kwakumanu, who have all been very, very supportive. I have already assured him and all the others.
Winning, easy, Charlie. But you know,
I will make him definitely reserve.
Thank you very much.
I'm concluding, Lavin. If you give me 30 seconds.
Winning, easy, Charlie. But you know,
Her Excellency Professor Nana Jenopokwajima, the first female Vice President.
Our review. Winning, easy, Charlie.
Mr. Chairman, Her Excellency, I want to thank the first female Vice President. Senior.
Our review. Winning, easy, Charlie.
Mr. Chairman, Her Excellency, I want to thank Dr. the first female Vice President. Senior.
Our review. Winning, easy, Charlie.
Mr. Chairman, Her Excellency, I want to thank Dr. the first female Vice President. Senior.
Our review. Winning, easy, Charlie.
Mr. Chairman, Her Excellency, I want to thank Dr. the first female Vice President. Senior.
Our review. Winning, easy, Charlie.
Mr. Chairman, Her Excellency, I want to
our review guys, please. You have to take part in the proceedings. We then proceed
would impact on the image
with the
of
actual
Ghana as
vetting,
a democratic country.
and I will recognize Asafo
Well,
Ajay.
thank you very much. It's a very important question you have asked. And interestingly, ECOWAS will be 50 years this year, and Ghana is likely to host the 50-year celebrations. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama believes that our regional integration agenda should be pursued and should not be abandoned. And so even though our three closest neighbors, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, broke away from ECOWAS, and only this week their breakaway became effective. ECOWAS announced that they have completed the cessation. we need to be conscious of the fact that as closest neighbors, even though we are promoting democracy and we have all said no to coups, we face serious threats. The threat of violent extremism and terrorism. And so, as good neighbors, President Mahama is of the view that he should not give up on dialogue. Article 40 and Article 73 of the 1992 Constitution enjoins the President and all of us who will be working in the foreign service space that our strategic national interest should always be at the center of our foreign policy considerations. If you have your neighbors who are being totally taken over with extremism, terrorism, and indeed, all our neighbors have been attacked except Ghana. And we know that if situation gets out of hand, the economic crisis also worsen, we will be affected. We are trading partners as well, and we have historic ancestral ties. There are many Ghanaians who trace their roots from Burkina Faso, from Niger, from Mali. So it is very strategic for President Mahama to say that I want to help resolve this Sahelian crisis. And that is why he appointed the respected, venerable Flight Lieutenant Colonel Bevlolate, who was an AU envoy on counterterrorism and also has the military clout and very close relations with some of these military leaders. So it is in our strategic national interest, as Article 40 and Article 73 enjoins us, and that is what informs President Mahama's posture when it comes to our three neighbors who have formed AES.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, I'm following up on that. Minister, don't you think that our colleagues within the ECOWAS will be disappointed on the position the president has taken when they also have a different position?
The indications are that our neighbors are rather impressed with President Mahama's approach. They are really impressed that all of them were at his inauguration. And remember that even before President Mahama's intervention, ECOWAS did not just alienate them. ECOWAS took steps to dialogue, even appointed an envoy to try to talk to them to come back. Because some of the things they want to do, have a new passport, you know, have a new bank, a new trading bloc, it will really undermine our quest for regional integration. And the further bastardization and balkanization of the region is not what will help our collective economic interests, particularly at the time we are talking about the continental free trade arrangement, you know. So I can assure you, my respected colleague, that these are steps in the strategic national interest of our country, and it is very welcoming. And I think that we should, as a house, support President Mahama to achieve his objectives. I think it will be to our collective credit if during our tenure as leaders in Parliament and in the executive, we were able to talk to our good neighbors to come back into the ECOWAS fold. I think that it will really be a good icing on the cake as ECOWAS celebrates 50 years in existence.
The Chairman, I want to ask the nominee again.
That is your second question.
That's my second question, I admit. Having attended, work with AU, attended several meetings, Ghana has always taken a position when it comes to Kosovo and Serbia. When it comes to Sahrawi Republic, we even call them the Western Sahara, and Morocco. And then the Palestine and Israel. I mean, the past government had a position. What will be your position vis-a-vis that of the President John Mahama's position when it comes to these countries, and we all know what is between them?
This is a very interesting question on geopolitics and what should be our geopolitical positioning. And I would like to make reference to our foreign policy, which Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah presented to this House on the 16th of December, 1959. He talked about Ghana's foreign policy being positively neutral, that we shall not look left or right, we shall look forward. And that is why, after that, he collaborated with his colleagues to establish the non-aligned movement in 1961.
Condom go bag with a menu.
Only kind condom go bag. That's
that enemy will be
098
80
80. What about the Musa and the Befi?
and the mutant.
10. That road design.
So our posture will remain safe.
No,
We will seek
I am
to
me and
be good
there's a
friends
discount above.
to all of these countries. But being good friends, as Kwame Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, doesn't mean that if along the line there is a misstep, you engage in some violation of international law, you go against the rule-based order. It does not mean that we will not speak out or point it out to you. That is even what shows that we are really good friends. So
Condom go bag with a menu. Go inside what chase or the man.
Say, we are Bema ba was saying show.
Conflict. We take the view that the humanitarian crisis there is totally unconscionable and unacceptable. And it is with dismay that we will continue to urge for a resolution of the Middle East crisis. We remain committed to the two-state solution so far as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is concerned. We do not align with hardliners on both sides who say that one state should be totally annihilated, does not deserve to exist. No. We say that let's respect the UN resolution, a two-state solution. On Western Sahara, you may have heard that on the eve of President Akufo-Addo's departure, he instructed that we cut ties with Western Sahara. That certainly has created some anxiety and nervousness, and it marked quite a major departure from our position in the 1960s, 70s, and the 1980s. And you recall that we
And I'm actually by I said, I am more condom
the
oil.
course of Western Sahara, which left
And I doctors for me fire the cock check emergency. Of
exiting
course, on my condom, no my oil into condom oil in a use.
in 1980.
Condom oil, and so oil bank.
So- It was a
Condom
very
oil near
significant
oil bank.
that a lot of our
I
allies
say
over there
condom
are looking at
by
Ghana's
Anono.
new posture.
It's just
I can
simple.
assure
Said
you
it
that
needle.
because this is a very
Nido,
sensitive
I rub an it in.
Sachet.
I sang what
will
a
be
pica.
open-minded,
Okay.
we will study
The Kakrebu
exactly what the
Shogun,
constitution
some
is
person condom weapons.
what
The
the
Kakrebu Shogun
constitution
sound of
advises
a condom. What's your name?
to take
On the beer
such
for us.
a
And any
consequential
pan
decision.
will do, no do.
I mean, when you are in government, you may know
But
things that
Ubu also, I would
others,
do. Condom when my fan got him by Obu, on found so bad, crowd in the quarter show us in what do. What out of a book.
now
Now, at the end, not when one need kind cancer and more ready.
Yeah,
we want to keep an open
Yeah, come
mind.
and
It's
see.
the
We will
necessary.
go and study what the
Obu ama
implications
Jumbo,
were,
what Banajum Bonnie,
what
good time to know
analysis
the
Ah, what take cow back or Mike anymore?
But
Yeah,
the
but
assurances
taught
I
I
can
can
give
minty.
you
And on the
based
other
our
end,
foreign
sound and
policy is that we remain friends of
Ah.
all, enemies
Ow.
of none.
Ow.
Even if
Now,
diplomatic
Chinga
ties
now, ya
may
na more
appear
really sad. Ya
strained,
let's say.
as it is now in the Western
I
Sahara
thought
question.
maybe we'll be
It
on
does not
Pecasa.
mean
What I see,
that
dear, sent to the
our good
banana.
friends in
Yes,
the
I'll be
Western
touching
Sahara
them. The menu, my meeting will boy than
or
Pavia.
cut ties
It's here who kissy me, man.
because of the
Yeah,
real
apart from
people
a
to
boy.
people cultural,
Ah, who a boy and Cassan so.
Nene,
Honest way.
Nene buy.
ideological,
Who no boy to buy?
with them.
When are your
But it's a
bodyguard?
sensitive matter.
If I try
we will
that
go and
mama,
study
the
it,
boy number.
and then
My mama, Tinasi, me friend boy number. Who she had the brave?
My
they have
Michiano,
allies on both sides.
year of
Of course, the
2012,
Algerians did not
2012
have it
when Michiano.
because
Who
of
she
this
had not who
decision.
was
The Moroccans have welcomed it. They are excited about it.
2012,
But we need to
2012 when Michiano.
who she
forces
had not
based
who
on
was
our
away Jumani.
strategic
Eh.
national interest. And
Na-
we will look
Emua
into
na
it and see how best,
discount a bum.
Mm.
Say, a member me no 200, 100.
Mm.
But say, we a bema ba kuna upese.
I think I like how you responded because Ghana has always taken a position, but that's fine. It, like you mentioned, you would get to find out in the minute.
So I would do Condom when my fan got to PF them over the party as a police in no crowd was what they may call maybe on Ankasa or Dimitri one man of the Mabashe. Maybe I first for me again say, you know.
We don't want to buy.
What is
And now ban or ban say what the new bass what you say so on quite so your bow. And you feel on here. Oh dear, if you in your Beman or a dead crampon of a social but
question, and that is perhaps the most
ban or ban say
question. Will the human race survive if global warming
and son of PF them will be a part just seconds for our
continue? If we do not change
No, take out.
that is why the COP meetings have become so crucial. Unfortunately, the big players and the big polluters, we are not seeing consistency. They don't want to come to the table really following the science. There are some countries who are saying that they don't even really believe in the science and that it's probably exaggerated. What I like about the foreign ministry is that we facilitate these engagements amongst key sectors. So on climate change, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology will be the lead ministry. The Lands Ministry will also play a role, and I'm glad that I see the respected former Lands Minister at today's hearings. I know he took part in a lot of the climate change discussions. I followed those meetings keenly. So we will not be the lead ministry when it comes to climate change. It will be the Ministry of Environment.
2012 when we share.
We are happy to coordinate to our international obligations. And having said that, let me register our unhappiness at the latest withdrawal by the United States of America from the Paris Climate Accord. That was a very key intervention in the climate change agenda. Ghana played a leading role, I recall, under former President Mahama when he was president at the time. That has clearly created a disruption, but we will continue to urge our big brothers and sisters to come back to the climate change agenda and to commit to a new global order when it comes to climate issues. So that's how I respond.
Thank you.
Chairman, a last follow-up on this.
Honorable member, you are either asking your last question. You are entitled to one follow-up, which you have asked. So you either move to your last question. After this, I'll give you no opportunity.
I'm going to my last question. Yes, I'm going to my last question. Yes, sure. Mr. Nominee, this, I think it is for the jury out there. There have been a lot of concerns about our female in the Western, the UAE, particularly inhumane treatment, abuses and all that. Even though we admit that it is out of their own private businesses and other things that lands them there, it has some implications on our international imagery. What is going to be the position of this government on this mass movement to UAE, and then it will come back to us as a whole lot of inhumane abuses and all that? What will be the clear-cut position of this government?
Once again, let me commend you for this well-researched question. And this is a matter that I am very passionate about. One of the priority areas that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has tasked me to work on is how the foreign ministry is repositioned to help resolve the unemployment crisis in our country. Unemployment has moved from about 8.6% in 2016 to 14.7% currently, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. we need to make sure that this migration that is going on because of the search for employment benefits our country, it is regulated, and it's a win-win situation. Countries like Cuba, Indonesia, because of their strategic foreign policy, have been able to use their foreign policy. They sign bilateral agreements with other countries. They export labor, so their citizens are well catered for because everything has been signed, is done legally, so their rights are protected. A portion of revenue goes to the country, and then there is another portion that goes to the workers, particularly the Cuban Medical Brigade, if we are to look at the Cuban model. So under my leadership, I will seek to aggressively pursue economic diplomacy in a way that allows for bilateral agreements to be signed. There are many countries looking for Ghanaian nurses, looking for Ghanaian teachers, looking for Ghanaian professionals, looking for Ghanaian workers in the domestic setting, artisans. Why can't we take advantage of that to solve our unemployment crisis and also to regulate the space so that what is happening in the Gulf to some of our workers, our fellow compatriots, is addressed? When these receiving countries know that the labor they have received is not from some clandestine agency engaged in some, human trafficking operation, they will be mindful in how they treat these workers. So expect that one of our priority areas will be using foreign policy to address unemployment. We can make sure that brain drain becomes brain gain, where these bilateral agreements will help create jobs for the young people of our country. You go out there to the UK as a nurse, as a doctor, if it's probably for a 5-year period, you get some new skills, you build capacity, you can decide to come back with some good, foreign currency, and the country also benefits. So expect that we will formalize these arrangements and we'll be very deliberate and aggressive about it to create jobs for our young people.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the nominee and once again congratulate him for his appointment.
I move to give the floor to Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nominee, congratulations. I'm one of the many Ghanaians who are very happy to see you where you are seated this morning. Nominee, I've worked with you in the 7th Parliament and in the 8th Parliament as my leader on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I appreciate the leadership skills and knowledge that you bring to where you are sitting this morning. When you get to the ministry, what would be some of your priority areas?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Okudzeto Ablakwa, and thank you for the kind words and the tremendous support you gave me for 8 years on the Foreign Affairs Committee as my deputy ranking. I have just talked about one of the priority areas, economic diplomacy, pursuing bilateral agreements to create jobs for the young people of our country in a regulated
The
other thing that I want to reform to get passports and to get them
doctors for fire the
backlog over 70,000 that have not been collected. There are issues
the year of 2012 when
storming the passport office in frustration and saying that, look, this crisis cannot continue. I would like to use technology to reform the passport regime. I don't think that we should still be requiring Ghanaians who have a Ghana card to go to passport office. This system of silos.
Honorable nominee, the question was your priority areas. You mentioned economic diplomacy. And you mentioned passport
and our strategy.
And to buy, I mean,
say your phone, that's what I'm with phone.
Be brief,
Obey me, I got to the same house.
I would want to engage the Ministry of Communications. I've already started so that we don't need to go to a passport application center. We should apply for your passport. And then also, I want to end this business of going back to the passport office for your passport. We can engage courier services to send your passport to you at home or in the office. So modernizing the whole regime as we move from the current biometric to chip embedded passport will be a Then the third one, as I
YouTube
conclude,
TV live.
a reform of the institution, the foreign service.
I
would like to
boyfriend
introduce
and
a
friend is saying.
department that will focus on the delivery.
Because I need
I want us to give
to moon or so. I may admire
now where we are in the current
I didn't know
global
Kyoto for most
ecosystem, relying on aid, relying on loans, relying on other countries.
Well, the day may I cross what's up point where you are now outside this kind of
When we send you as an ambassador,
Where now, Betty?
I didn't know the better drew.
Where you are now, now, so
You
first,
must bring
or
us
color best
something
share.
home
Oh, color best share to Obi will crawl back out of the
investors
class
are you
never.
bringing in?
Wow.
How many industries
No Sam Kumbe.
I'm a
FDI
prophet white.
and all of that.
And I sent a
So
board.
they'll be giving
We are
clear
pre
KPIs.
I'm going to
Because
40
if you
cities.
look at
Okay.
Is any pan me chill now? One me born now, but I'm so I then cook crime and slack on the book. Atari, I'm Mr. Mesha,
Taria Beshe.
strain a bone in the boom, it's in my bone, come going a boy. Now be chased like it.
And that is why many people think foreign affairs is so removed, is so abstract. What do we even get from foreign ministry? We are going to change that perception. Clear KPIs, you must bring something home. If within 1 year we are not seeing benefits, you will be reshuffled so that we'll send in ambassadors who will be more dynamic, who will be proactive in our national interest.
Thank you. Any further question?
Mr. Chair, I think the nominee has done well with my question. I don't have any more questions. I just want to congratulate him. And once again, I want to say I'm very happy to see you where you are. And I want to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for your nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. I proceed to give the floor to Honorable Abujinapo. Please. Honorable Abujinapo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me begin by congratulating the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa for his nomination to this very high office as, and occupying the shoes of statesmen like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Obeda Samoa, Victor Gbeho, and the rest, especially at his age, is quite a significant achievement. And warm congratulations, Honorable nominee. Mr. Chairman, Ghana's policy, foreign policy, since 1957 has essentially been non-aligned. And as the nominee himself articulated in one of his responses, if I would say, we neither look left or right, we look forward, and we don't take sides. Indeed, if you look at the NDC manifesto, specifically page 160, you will see that that same policy is articulated. And then President Mahama, in his inaugural address, also reiterates the point. Mr. Chairman, I followed the nominee. I've read most of his articles, his presentations, the news articles about him and all of that. And it is clear on the evidence that the nominee is a leftist. He's a leftist. I would say he's a socialist. I will refrain myself from saying that he's a communist. I will refrain myself from saying so. You will see, Mr. Chairman, that the nominee, for example, wrote a tribute to His Excellency John Pombi Makafuli and delivered it on the floor of Parliament when he died on 17th March 2021. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, the nominee's views are known as a radical left. How is he going to marry his obvious personal ideological leanings and inclinations, which he's on many occasions said he's very proud of, in wiggling his way through this complex international geopolitics of the left and right as it relates to Ghana's policy of non-aligned? Thank you.
This question could have been asked without making reference to all those documents. Please proceed to answer the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, let me place on record that I am not a communist. Of course, I am left of center. All of us in the NDC subscribe to the left of center political ideology, which we are very, very proud of. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has worn the badge proudly because we believe in the welfare state and we believe in humanism to our economic interventions that don't encourage exploitation, particularly by a few elites. So you are right about where I belong ideologically, left of center, which is where my party, the NDC, belongs. So I am very much at home. Having said that, let us remember Kwame Nkrumah's tact and skillful approach to our foreign policy. Kwame Nkrumah was on the left, but he managed to, at the height of the Cold War, a bipolar era, to still get the Americans to support him in the construction of the Akosombo Dam, and to still have the Russians to help him in building our atomic agency. So that model is what we must adopt. So our friends know where we belong ideologically, but they respect us and they know that we don't mean harm or we don't bear grudge or have any malice. We are friends of all and enemies to none. So be rest assured that even though I have left leanings, I will be very objective in pursuing our foreign policy, which Article 40 says must be guided by our national interests. Kwame Nkrumah did it, President Mahama has been doing it, receiving support from all sides. And in the current multipolar world, be rest assured that I will attend to this responsibility with all fairness and objectivity. Note from my CV that in the 8th Parliament, I was chair of the Ghana-Cuba Parliamentary Friendship Association, but also very active in our U.S. Ghana Parliamentary Friendship Association. Indeed, a proud member of the American Council of Young Political Leaders. So there are a few of us who straddle and who are liked by all sides. because we are very objective in our dealings. So be rest assured, I consider myself a good friend of all the forces at play in the global arena.
Chairman, that is reassuring, and I think, Mr. Chairman, it's important that we lay the proper foundations before we ask the questions, so that both the nominee and the country...
Please don't litigate with me.
No, I'm not litigating, Chairman. I'm just... So I have a follow-up question. Now, again, Mr. Chairman, the nominee is on record to have, you know, if you want, not so much criticized, but raise substantive and significant issues with Ukraine as opposed to the West in the Ukraine-Russian war. And I have an article here where the nominee indicates that the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has been roundedly condemned by all international organizations, the United Nations, African Union, ECOWAS, and the rest, is as a result of Ukrainians' failure of foreign policy. Mr. Chairman, also the nominee is on record to have taken issues with the West in its dealings with Israel as it relates to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the point I seek to make is that the nominee is obviously, in his years of activism, taking sides in these two major international conflicts of the world. If he gets the nod of this committee and parliament, how is he going to navigate his way through this complex issue of Ukraine-Russian war, Palestinian-Israeli war, mindful of its rippling effects in the global geopolitics? How's he going to do that? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and let me commend the Honorable Abu-Jina for the well-researched question. The challenge that we all face, I've served on the appointments committee, is that you have to summarize, and so you can't read these articles in full. But those who will want to pay regard to the articles, you see that I try to be very objective and balanced and more nuanced than the summary.
The conclusion, whether you've taken sides, is it correct?
No, the conclusion is far-fetched. I have not taken sides. And Mr. Chairman, I know you'll be happy to hear that I have been invited by both sides. There are probably few people who have achieved that. The Russians invited me, and I was guest in their parliament. There was a second invitation where I went with former President Mahama to launch his book at the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Russian translation. And then the Ukrainians invited me. I spent a week there. We were, touring Kiev and other places. We went to the land mines. I helped them to even demine, some of the Russian mines that had been left in Ukraine. So that should tell you, I mean, the countries don't have any issues with me. Israel has invited me on a number of occasions. The Palestinians have also done that. Indeed, the Palestinian ambassador in Ghana is one of my very, very good friends. And so is the Israeli ambassador. So please be rest assured that despite my ideological stance on these matters, you will see objectivity. But Article 40 is clear. We must also, in the pursuit of our foreign policy, be guided by international law, a rule-based order, international principles. So where our friends err, we should be bold to point it out. Because as Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, when he presented our foreign policy to Parliament, he said that we will not be passive spectators, that as good friends, when you err, when you commit genocide, when you commit atrocities against women and children, we will point it out to you. And it does not make us bad friends. It rather, makes us very, very good friends. So that's the position I take on these matters.
Thank you very much. Your last question? Or you have a follow-up on this?
This was a follow-up on the first question.
It cannot be.
No, it was.
It cannot be.
I said so that it was a follow-up.
No.
Mr.
The
Chairman.
fact that you said so doesn't mean it should be a follow-up.
No, it was
Please,
a follow-up.
ask a follow-up question whether he is taking sides in these various wars that we have mentioned. Please go ahead with a follow-up question on this.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I asked a question about his leanings on taking sides. And I made a follow-up on the specific issue of whether or not you take sides. It was all about taking sides. Thank you.
Was how is he going to marry?
No, it was taking sides. And then I gave a specific example, whether he would take sides.
Please, your last question.
Last question?
If you have a follow-up on this, I will allow it.
Mr. Chairman, no. This is it. I can give you the documentations I use. No, because it's a follow-up. It was a follow-up on the first question. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, the question I want to ask the nominee, which is the second question, is the nominee, if he's given the nod as foreign minister, as I said initially, is a very high office. And as he himself has been articulating, it will require, in his words, rules-based. It will require a lot of fairness, objectivity, and all of that. Mr. Chairman, on 23rd December 2024, the nominee made a post where he alleged that unimpeachable evidence from the Lands Commission shows that the two daughters of President Akufo-Addo have acquired some state lands in cantonments, and that amounted to state capture. Mr. Chairman, the company which was the subject matter of this allegation was Nsunam Company Limited. Mr. Chairman, a search at the Lands Commission will show that the land in question is the property of administrators of the estate of Justice, the late Justice Johnson Sribo, a former Justice of the Supreme Court and Chairman of the Electoral Commission, who acquired the land as far back as 1969, specifically on 1st June 1969. And indeed, Mr. Chairman, at the time, the president's children were not even born. The subject matter land was acquired by the state, Mr. Chairman, as far back as 1869, and the lease will end in 2069. So clearly, this land is not state land. The president's children did not buy state land. On the evidence, on the record, it is absolutely clear that they did not buy state land. Will the nominee concede, given that he's seeking to be foreign minister and will be required to be fair to all manner of persons, that the president's children were wrongly accused and he will apologize to them? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, your quick answer.
Well, thank you very much for the question. The Honorable Abu-Jinapo will recall that when I put out that article, I supported the article with evidence from the Lands Commission. I attached an official search that I had conducted on those two lands. Indeed, those are lands that you have in Somnam and then the lot boutique, a fashion boutique. And I sought to inquire from the Lands Commission the status, the ownership of the land. And the Lands Commission responded in that official search, which I published. And Ghanaians can go on my social media handles. You see the official search results, where the Lands Commission, in their response, indicated that all those lands are government lands. So in my article, I asked a question. Is this another state capture? Is President Akufo-Addo allocating state lands to his daughters? It was a question based on empirical evidence, what the Lands Commission had told me in writing as official search results when I put in that official search. So there is really no need to apologize on this matter. We need to probably be discussing reforming the Lands Commission. You were Lands Minister. If you think that the Lands Commission misled me, you need to join us with ideas on how to reform the Lands Commission, get their data to be more accurate, so that when we conduct official search, what they tell us, the reports that they give us, their search certificates, are not misleading. Because all of the facts you put out, I don't know them. In 1979, I wasn't born.
Thank you.
So the Lands Commission told me they are government lands, and I have the documents here.
Thank you.
To confirm
Thank you
that. So
very much. Thank you very
it's
much.
not my fault.
Any follow-up on the land acquisition?
Mr. Chairman, my follow-up will be that I have in my hands, and this is all about government lands. Of course, I mean, the nominee is literally established and conceded that the president's daughter did not buy state lands. If they were government lands as far back as 1969, they were not state lands at the time when they were tenants, as you know, they are tenants of that place.
Please,
but
your
anyway,
follow-up question.
The follow-up
Please, your follow-up question.
Mr. Chairman, please, this being a house of records, I have not admitted.
I know.
I
This
haven't
being
said
house
that.
of record,
I'm saying that
you never
the
admitted.
record I have, what the Lands Commission gave me.
Therefore,
when I
you
conduct
won't
official
rescind
search.
your decision
Yes.
and apologize.
So
please
I'm
go
not,
ahead with
I'm
your
not
question.
changing my stance on the matter.
I've not litigated that. I will not litigate that. All that I said was that the evidence is clear that the land was bought as far back as 1969. The president's children are just tenants, so they did not buy state land. That's the point I'm making. It's not, I'm not litigating with you, Mr. Nominee. I'm just setting the record straight that they did not buy state land as you suggested. So, Mr. Chairman, the follow-up will be, and this really is flowing from the issue of the nominee's standing and reputation on the protection of public funds, state lands, and all of that. And the question is simple. I mean, I know the chairman is in a hurry to move on with his vetting.
So long as the question relates to the acquisition as a follow-up, I will allow it.
Yes.
If not, I will overrule you.
Well, it relates to the protection of state estates, generally speaking. And the question is very simple. In that protection, Mr. Chairman, you will see that the nominee has, on multiple occasions, asked for, quotes, the state to eschew frivolous foreign travels by government officials, end quotes, and gone at great length to make the point about how we need to be frugal. I know that the foreign minister travels on first-class tickets. Will he travel on economy tickets when he's made foreign minister?
Accordingly, the question is overruled. It can't be a follow-up question on acquisition of land. You are done. I then give the floor to Honorable Ziwera. Honorable Ziwera, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to congratulate my boss and my mentor and to wish him well. Congratulations, Honorable Ablakwa. Your leadership has been exemplary. Mr. Chairman, I served with Honorable Ablakwa on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And if you look for a team player, you'll find it in Honorable Ablakwa. Honorable Ablakwa, extent of knowledge in the foreign ministry and international relations makes him the best choice, actually, for this position. And I want to commend highly President Mahama for giving us this choice. We know that with your extensive experience, with your knowledge, and with your excellent human relations, you are going to lift the flag of Ghana very high in the Committee of Nations. I can only wish you well, and I say congratulations, Honorable Ablakwa. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Order. Order. Thank you. Order. Order. I proceed to give the floor to NC.
This is a very, very important question, and Ghanaians in the diaspora are really concerned about how our embassies and high commissions can be more responsive. As ranking member, I advocated strongly for the establishment of a consular fund. I was shocked to learn that our hardworking foreign service staff have to sometimes contribute their own money from their pockets to assist distressed Ghanaians out there who need consular assistance. In the budget for the foreign service, we don't have a line item for consular relations. You know, under the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, 1963, countries must extend these courtesies to their citizens. So, as foreign minister, when given the nod, I will make sure that we establish the consular fund. We must make sure that this fund exists, that can be assessed by our foreign service staff to extend assistance, particularly in this period where the United States has announced mass deportations. Those who may be rounded up to be deported are entitled to consular support. We must get them legal assistance so that they are not just rounded up and deported, their rights violated. You know, sometimes even in the deportation, how they are deported, sometimes chained to seats and all of that, treated as criminals. That is a violation of their human rights. It affronts their dignity. And these are matters that I will pursue forcefully. So we will seek to establish the consular fund, and in the KPIs that we will be drafting for our diplomats, we will also make sure that they prioritize the needs, the concerns, and the plight of Ghanaians who are living abroad. Because really, why establish an embassy if you cannot take care of Ghanaians within that jurisdiction? So that will be a priority area. And I thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. I'm sure our brothers and sisters out there will be excited about your response. I wish to wish you well on your appointment as the Foreign Minister for the Republic of Ghana, and I pray God's blessings for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I proceed to recognize Honorable Amprechum.
Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity. Honorable Sami, we meet again. Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP for the good people of Northton. You are at the verge of becoming the #3 diplomat of this great country of Ghana after His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, Her Excellency Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, the Vice President. Honorable nominee, permit me to remind you that the international arena that you are going to operate in and the diplomatic circles that you are going to engage in is very different from the political terrain that you have been dancing with your propaganda theatrics.
Honorable member, you haven't started well. You are out of order. I will give you the floor to start well.
Thank you.
Else I will rule you out.
We have worked and engaged. I have worked and engaged with you on the Foreign Affairs Committee for 8 years, including the last 4 years as the immediate past Deputy Foreign Minister for Political and Economic Affairs. And I can say, without any shred of doubt, that you have the capacity and the capabilities to rise up to the responsibilities of the position of the Minister for Foreign Affairs. If, and only if, you change your suit of sometimes giving disinformation. And I have 2 references as my basis for making that point.
Thank you very much. The question is overruled. Ask another question.
Some 3 or 4 years back, you started a crusade. When the ministry was about to purchase a chancellery in Oslo, you came up with all kinds of stories that eventually turned out to be untrue. Eventually, it encouraged it encouraged a Norwegian lawyer to take Ghana government to court, which eventually ended up in the Supreme Court of Norway. Even though we won it, it cost us a lot of money because of what you did, the information that you put out there, which, like I said, encouraged the Norwegian lawyer to pursue a matter which he had no case.
Order.
That is number one. Number two, recently,
please,
you
are
also
you asking one question or you are asking two questions at the same time?
No. Mr. Chairman, I am laying the foundation for the question. Please. I'm laying the foundation.
12.2 million based on the $50 million facility that the Honorable Hannah Tete secured before she left the ministry. I then decided to carry out due diligence to approve a blank check. Go blank check. Go ahead, go and buy it. When I did the due diligence, I discovered that the property had been paid. And I raised alarm. Indeed, the court documents that I have read, and you rightly confirmed that the Norwegian property owner took the government of Ghana to court. The defense of Ghana is that your ministry, the foreign ministry, did not authorize the official who went to commit Ghana. And that is why Ghana then won the case, and that official was chastised that she didn't have the full approval and authorization to go purchase that chancery. So what I put out was not false. It was fact. The court documents confirm it. You yourself said